Hey, welcome to an episode of Chad's Beer Reviews. Continuing with the BJCP style guidelines, we are now on style 25B Saison. And by the way, this is the longest of all the style descriptions in the entire book. This one is long, so buckle up. This is going to be a long review. I mean, just look how long his overall impression is. Most commonly, a pale, refreshing, highly attenuated, moderately bitter, moderate strength Belgian ale with a very dry finish. Typically highly carbonated, using non-barley cereal grains and optional spices for complexity, as complements the expressive yeast character that is fruity, spicy, and not overly phenolic. Less common variations include both lower alcohol and higher alcohol products, as well as darker versions with additional malt character. Yeah, that's really long just for an overall description. And of course I got, which is probably the most famous Saison in the world, Saison Dupont. All right, so again, the comments history, all that stuff are so long. I'm actually splitting it up into two different pictures. So let's start with the comments. They talk about, variations exist, no correlation between strength and color. They talk about, different, pale versions will likely be more bitter and have more hop character, or darker versions tend to have more malt character and sweetness. That's a theme you'll find throughout the entire beer spectrum. Often called farmhouse ales in the U.S., but the term is not common in Europe, where they are simply part of a larger group of artisanal ales. And history, it's interesting they talk about, go down to the last sentence there, the best known modern Saison, Saison Dupont, was first produced in the 1920s, originally a rustic artisanal ale made with local farm-produced ingredients. It is now brewed mostly in larger breweries, yet retains the image of its humble origins. Now, the characters and ingredients, this is pretty interesting. Not typically spice with the yeast, hops, and grain providing the character, but spices are allowed if they provide a complementary character. I'm surprised you didn't put a disclaimer in there that said, if spices are forefront, then it should be entered as a 30A. I guess that kind of goes without saying. Continental base malts, they say you can use wheat, oats, rye, or spelt. Brettanomyces is not typical for the style. Saisons with Brett should be entered in the American Wild Ale category, which I believe should just be called a Wild Ale. Style comparisons, a standard strengths and pale color, the most common variety, like a more highly attenuated hoppy and bitter Belgian blonde ale with a stronger yeast character. Actually, that's funny. Aside from the color, I don't really think you can compare it to the Belgian blonde at all. The super strength and pale color, similar to Belgian triple, with often a more grainy rustic quality, and sometimes with spicier yeast character. And you talk about the entry instructions, the vital. See all the breakdown here. It can either be pale or dark, table, standard, or super. And you got your commercial examples. Now, if I can just get on a soapbox for a second here. First of all, if they're going to have like the table, standard, and super, why don't they break it down like the Keller beer into those, actually have three separate categories for it. And I also think that you need an American Saison, because 90% of the Saisons that are bottled and canned in the United States are made by American breweries. So much like the IPA, even though they came from Europe, we Americanized them. So, and in fact, you actually look at the commercial examples. They list Boulevard Tank 7 Farmhouse Ale, which to me, that is very, very, very different from this one because it's so hoppy. All right, so enough rambling. Let's start diving in with the Saison Dupont. So start with a whiff here. Well, green bottle, so it's quite skunky, but also has the classic farmhouse characters there. So I'm getting, actually, I get a lot of peppercorn on this. A little straw, a little hay. There's just kind of farmhouse terroir kind of atmosphere there. Not to like it's not the same as like a lambic or something like that, but yeah. So lovely kind of that farm air quality. I'm definitely getting some lemon, like lemon peel, a little bit of orange peel. I actually don't get banana on this one. A lot of them you tend to get like huge banana bombs on them, but not with this one. So just big farmhouse quality, significant kind of skunk in there, but I don't know. I've reached a point where I don't mind the skunk, and in fact, with some beers, it kind of goes with it, but I'm not gonna super penalize it for it. Man, look how long this description is. All right, so aroma, quite aromatic with fruity, spicy, and hoppy characters is evident. True, the esters can be fairly high, moderate to high, and are often reminiscent of citrus fruits such as orange and lemons. Okay, that's exactly what I said. The hops are low to moderate and often spicy, floral, earthy, or fruity. It's going to be hard to pick out the hops here. I mean, there's certainly a spicy quality, but a lot of that's yeast, esters, and phenols. Stronger versions can have a soft, spicy alcohol note, low intensity. I did not get alcohol in this one, actually. 6.5, not that strong. Spicy notes are typically peppery rather than clove-like and can be up to moderately strong, typically yeast-derived. Okay, that's exactly what I said. Subtle, complementary herb or spice additions are allowable, but should not dominate. Well, there's no spices or herbs in this. The malt character is typically slightly grainy in character and low in intensity. I would agree with that. You just kind of pale malt. If there's adjuncts in here, they really don't stand out. Darker and stronger versions will have more noticeable malt, with darker versions taking characteristics associated with the grains of that color, toasty, biscuit. All right, well, this isn't a dark one, so I'm not going to worry about it. In versions where sourness is present instead of bitterness, some of the sour character can be detected. All right, so they're talking about sourness here, but they didn't mention anything about, that it could be sour. Again, they need to, if you're gonna have sour or Brett, do it as a wild beer or sour beer or something like that. So, yeah, kind of difficult to rate, but I mean, this is essentially the progenitor of the style. We should give it a 50 and call it a day. It's right there to me. I mean, also it's an old bottle. It smells. If there was no skunk in there, I think it'd be great. But I'm gonna be a little generous. I'm gonna go 10 and a 12. I think ideally it's more of a 8, 9 tops. But all right. So appearance, well, typical saison. Kind of a hazy amber, kind of a pale orange color. What have we got on SRM here? I'd say it's about 4 to 5 SRM, maybe even a 2. It was a bright sunny day out. Big fluffy white foam. That's not going anywhere anytime soon. Check the specs on appearance. Pale versions are often a distinctive pale orange, but maybe a pale golden to amber in color. Gold to amber gold is most common. Darker versions, yeah. Long-lasting, dense, rocky white to ivory head, resulting in characteristic Belgian lace on the glass as it fades. True, clarity is poor to good, though haze is not unexpected in this type of unfiltered beer. Effervescent, yeah, so definitely a full 3 out of 3 on appearance there. Flavor, what have we got for that? Cheers. Wow. Just classic saison thing. I've had like so many craft beers that like they use saison yeast, but they're not saison styles. When you actually have an old school traditional 2-spec saison, it like really like kind of brings you back of like, well, this is what the style should be. So big phenols on this one. I'm just getting like, like I said, peppercorn. Not like that it's super spicy or hot or anything, just like that kind of taste, like a black pepper kind of a thing there. Straw hay, the golden barley kind of thing there. It does finish quite dry, but actually the beer itself is actually, I don't know if I'd go as far as say sweet, but there's still plenty of maltiness in there. In fact, a lot of that I think is from oxidation. I'm getting just a tiny little bit of honey lemon kind of thing, and also I'm sure the hops have dropped out. So yeah, so getting like your base malt here, kind of a weedy, pale malt kind of thing. I would not call it bready. It's because it's kind of a dry. It's very well attenuated, so it's not like bready per se, but it's just it's malty. So you're getting, like I said, the pale thing, the wheat thing, just not really to the extent of being bready. I am getting the orange and lemon citrus that I got on the nose, and this is more of like citrus pith or citrus peel. It is not juicy or sweet or anything like that. It doesn't taste like candy, nothing like that. Just more like the dry kind of thing. Those would be the yeast esters, I'm sure. And I do get like a tiny little bit of banana character in there. I'm not smelling banana, but I can taste like a little bit. I can taste the skunkiness too. But it's, I don't know if it's me, if I've just built up a tolerance to it, but it's really not that bad. It's, it's because this particular bottle is kind of old, so your hops have dropped. It's getting kind of malty, a little oxidized, things like that. Maybe just like a tiny little bit of alcohol in here, 6.5. Not super strong beer, but it's certainly no session beer. So yeah, everything is banging on all cylinders here. Just classic old school saison, Belgian style saison palate. So let's check the specs on flavor. Ooh, this is long. All right, flavor. Medium low to medium high fruity and spicy flavors. True. Supported by a low to medium soft malt character. True. Often with some grainy flavors. True. Bitterness is typically moderate to high, although sourness can be present in place of bitterness. Both should not be strong flavors at the same time. Attenuation is extremely high, which gives a characteristic dry finish essential to style. A Saison should never finish sweet. I agree. Yeah, it's definitely well attenuated, but it's a little old, so it's a little sweeter than it would be if it was fresh on the bottling line. The fruity character is frequently citrusy, orange or lemon, and the spices are typically peppery. Exactly true. Allow for a range of balance in the fruity, spicy characteristics. This is often driven by the yeast selection. Okay. Hop flavor is low to moderate and generally spicy or earthy in character. Hop flavor is, in this particular bottle, is difficult to distinguish from the yeast character, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be spicy and earthy, and I would probably put it at low. The balance is towards the fruity, spicy, hoppy character with any bitterness or sourness not overwhelming these flavors. True. Darker versions, yeah, this isn't dark. Stronger versions, well, this isn't really that strong. Herbs and spices, none of that in here. The finish is very dry in the aftertaste. It's typically bitter and spicy. True. The hop bitterness can be restrained, although it can seem accentuated due to high attenuation levels. So, yeah, when they talk about hop bitterness there, they're really talking about American-style Saison, which should be its own style, in my opinion. All right, so for flavor, again, should get a full 20. Old bottle. It's not perfect. But otherwise, I mean, it's totally to spec. I'd like to see like a little bit more hops in here, you know, a little less skunk and oxidation. I'm going to penalize it on that. But I am going to be kind of generous and go 18 out of 20. Mouthfeel, put about medium body, almost medium light. Even though it's highly carbonated, it's actually like a really smooth kind of creamy texture. It's a little refreshing. 6.5 ABV. I'm not feeling alcohol, like no alcohol warmth. Like it's just like a tiny little bit of like you can taste and tell that it's there, but you know, it's drinking like it's drinking like more of a session beer than it actually is. I should have went with the 750 ml instead of this, but yeah, really nice drinkable beer. Let's check the specs on mouthfeel. Light to medium body, okay. Alcohol sensation varies with strength from non-table version to light and standard versions, true, to moderate super versions. However, any warming character should be fairly low. All right, true. Very high carbonation with an effervescent quality, true. I don't know if I'd say very high. I would definitely say high. There's enough prickly acidity on the tongue to balance the very dry finish. Maybe in a fresh version. In versions with sourness, a low to moderate tart character can add a refreshing bite but not be puckering. Well, this isn't sour, so... I mean, certainly it's weird that it's highly carbonated but still kind of creamy. So I'm going to go 4 out of 5 on mouthfeel. Overall impression, I could kind of go 9 or 10. I mean, I think... Really, this is a 10, but this particular bottle is a 9. So I'm going to say 9. That's a total score of 44 out of 50. And I agree with that. It's an excellent beer. It's just... It doesn't... I don't think is really served well by aging it. I think this particular beer is better, like, as fresh as possible. So... There you go, 44 out of 50 for Saison Dupont. Again, I could just go off on a soapbox and all the different variations of Saison, but if you watch this whole review, you just saw that. So, all right, so we're going very, very long. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
Somebody brewed it. Chad just reviewed it. Thanks for watching Chad's beer review. Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.